Check out this vlogger's thumbnails and the titles of his videos. This is a popular travel vlogger from Vietnam. So I'm intentionally not including here the full thumbnail of this one because it's a girl. And then the other one is a boy sleeping on kind of makeshift bed. The translation here explore the big slum in the Philippines for the first video here, and then the other one, astonished upon arriving at the Philippines metropolis Manila. This is a popular trend now for foreigners coming here to the Philippines, and my goal in giving a reaction to this travel vlogger from Vietnam is to show to others what should not be done in featuring Philippines, at least because we have our own customs here, we have our own tradition, we have our own culture, so please respect that. And I honestly was disappointed with this vlogger just because of the way he handles poverty, the way he handles the misfortunes of other people. In fact, when you go back here to the other content, one of his content 10 days ago was Discover Timor-Leste, Southeast Asia's most impoverished nation. The other one, living residents live with the deceased in Indonesia. So of course this could be like just purely clickbait, but still, this is something that we should be alarmed about because we have to protect the rights of our people, and it is our responsibility as content creators to maintain the dignity of our content, of our subjects. So that's what we'll be talking about here. So for this vlog episode that he had, with this person, we'll be talking about the scene per scene. So what I did was I took some screenshots here sequentially on those 2-part videos that he created, this guy. And for the sake of his identity, I will not be telling you his channel name, but he's fairly popular, around 380,000 subscribers already. And his videos would rank up to the hundreds of thousands per video because of his style of featuring and showing, quote-unquote, his journey to these areas. So the first scene here, of course, welcome to the Philippines. He's talking about the diversity of the Philippines. Few countries in Southeast Asia have as clear division between social classes as the Philippines. Okay. And then talks about Philippines more, his impressions that the architecture is very different because of the influence of Spain. And then, he rode on a jeepney. And then he went to a river here in the Philippines. And then he would feature the streets in the Philippines with these tricycles. And he says here, there are no traffic lights here, so you have to go through the tunnel to cross the street. Okay. And apparently he's showing, okay, beggar. And if you notice also, just for you guys to know, I will be intentionally putting a kind of blur here because he does not put any mask or blur to children in this video, which is very, very alarming. I don't know what kind of privacy laws they have in his home country, or maybe, I really don't know. But that is not allowed here in this country. So this is a severe issue of violating privacy issues for the children. And in our law, of course, you need to have a kind of waiver or consent, especially from the parents, that the parents would say, okay, so you can do that. So that will be fine with us here in the Philippines. So I'm putting some kind of mask into the eyes of the children just for their protection. Okay. In Manila, he says when it rains, the streets often flood. So he featured Chinatown, okay, the oldest Chinatown in the world in the Philippines. He says this restaurant is nothing special, all Chinese dishes. Because it is so busy, the traffic in this area is often congested. Restaurants are also very crowded, people have to wait in long lines. The river, water is cloudy and smells bad. Street food in the Philippines does not seem so special, he says. Filipino cuisine is heavily influenced by China, so Chinese eateries are everywhere. So for our privacy laws in the Philippines in general, if it's in a public place, really you don't have to ask for the person's consent when you talk about just featuring daily life. That's totally fine. But of course, for decency and out of respect, it's way better to ask for their permission when you are taking videos of people. Okay, that's why we have a lot of consent form and waivers and a dossier of many kinds of documents, especially for media sites and other big media companies. So here he says, in short, coconut is still safe, cleanest. Coconuts in Manila are sold a lot. For example, this river is seriously polluted with turbid water, color, stench. Now, in this video, in the 2-part video that he has, he just focuses, unfortunately, a lot on beggars. Homeless people, once again, without consent. So it would just film, and in some ways, okay, let's say that this is allowable, quote unquote allowable, just because they are in a public place, all right? But for the sake of decency, I don't think that is okay to feature the misery of people, you know, on their down episodes of their life, and then here comes this foreigner would take his video and take a video of them sleeping without their consent. It says here, women, men, or even children all make a living by begging. This is interesting part of his video because in the actual video, he's taking the camera, okay, and putting it so close, with no regard to the person walking in this. He's walking on the street, and then he looks actually into what this person is doing. This young boy is doing, and you can see the boy is quite confused. So I don't think that passes off as consent or permission for him to shoot that video. So it, you know, the cinematography style of this vlogger makes you think that you're watching something interesting, something like a zoo. You know, you're looking into animals and you zoom into the animals. That's the feeling I have, without regard for dignity of the person involved. For this case, the boy. So yeah, the boy looks into him, and this is kind of like a repeating theme that this vlogger will be doing all throughout the video. He would show videos like this one, and then the boy who does not have any clothes on. And once again, I'm just putting the mask there into the face of the child just for his privacy and for him to be not identified. And he does this all around. Okay, so like what I said, these screenshots are taken chronologically, okay, in this video. So he says here, and he, you know, in his narrations, this vlogger, besides garbage is thrown indiscriminately, giving off a stench. The stench of the polluted river pervades the city, creating a very unpleasant feeling. Okay. And then he features people on their private lives. So I need to mention that private lives, their private time, because this is their home, right? Or at least this could be a public place, but that is what they consider to be their own shelter, because these are homeless people. So they sleep at the side. And you know, this was his quote. Many times I wonder if I'm in Burundi, the poorest country in the world, or in the Philippines, a country quite close to Vietnam. This vlogger is likening the Philippines to Burundi. Okay, the poorest country in the world that he already visited. Actually, he said in the video. In a way, the Philippines is quite similar to Burundi. Okay, and then here's this homeless boy, you know, and yeah, so he was just kind of like open firing on everyone that he sees. Okay, so another man here. And then in the spirit of sensationalism, he would say, he kind of had these little spiels, and then at the back is, you know, are two people here sleeping the side of the road. Poverty everywhere creates an atmosphere of gloom, boredom, deadlock. Okay. Once again, kids. And then he features this urinal. And then he says, everywhere on the street there is a strong stench. Take note of the word everywhere, all right? And then he says here, it's so poor my nose when going through places like this. Okay. After visiting all 11 capitals of Southeast Asian countries, in my opinion, Manila is the most unclean capital among them. In my opinion, this title is very worthy of the capital, Manila. Oh no, I'm still in the Philippines. So he had here sarcasm, all right? Because it's part of Manila, which is the Bonifacio Global City. So he also went there. A high-rise building, streets clean, airy, spacious. Here, there is not any trace of the Philippines that we have just learned. All the negative things that are easily seen in other districts are not present in this area. However, it seems that this is just a place where people come to temporarily get away from the reality of life in the Philippines. Because outside is the reality in the Philippines. This place is probably only for a small section of people with money in the Philippines. Sure, that's quite true. Can't believe I'm still in the Philippines. He keeps on saying that, okay? And not in a kind way, right? So once again, in his second part of this video, he says here, few countries in Southeast Asia have as clear a division between social classes as the Philippines. Due to topographical factors, every day in the Philippines can take place about 20 large and small earthquakes. So he's talking about, the background in the Philippines. And then he goes to, of all the places in Manila, he goes to Happy Land, which is the poorest slum in the Philippines. Okay. And once again, featuring a small boy here, in their home without permission, I suppose. So I could be wrong here. I could be wrong. Maybe he had a lot of, bulks and piles of dossiers of documents, waiver forms. I could be wrong, but I just felt that I really honestly doubt it. Okay. Happy Land. So, adventure to explore the largest slum in the Philippines. So, going to a very poor place, a slum, the poorest area in the Philippines, for him, it's an adventure for this travel vlogger. It's not. Okay. Hello, friends. He says, Manila, the Philippines, is very famous for its slums. Wow. Okay. Such sensitive places are recommended not to go because unpredictable risks can occur. That is quite correct, of course. However, I still decided to go there to witness the life of the people there. Oh, so what now? We should be appreciating you because you are brave. Is that what you're trying to say? We invite you to join us on this journey. Wow. Not far from the capital Manila is the Tondo district, home to the largest slum in the Philippines. The slum is called Happy Land, a name that stands in stark contrast to the circumstances of living here. Okay, Happy Land. Okay. When you first come here, it will feel like this is just an ordinary district of the capital Manila. Now, this is one of the places with the highest crime rate in the Philippines. So now, take note, he is entering here what we call an esquinita, or a small alley. And alleys are technically, it could be considered as public space, but he is coming in here, and it gives me the feeling that this, without permission to the local government, I suppose, it's just his own way of exploring, the slums. And he says here, these two boys sit and play with a very beautiful dog, and then he features, really disgusting areas of the slum. And then for kids also, once again, the play area, quote unquote. And this is interesting because I don't know if it truly understands what these people are doing here in what we as PisoNet, So you would drop a coin, and with just 1 peso, you would have like 4 minutes of internet. I'm not sure if he knows that this is not gambling, but this is just the way of using budget internet in the Philippines. But he labeled them as gamblers come here to play. So there's a very big assumption here on his part. And if I'm the person here, I don't want to be called as a gambler if I'm not really gambling. I don't think they're gambling here. Okay, they're just looking at some screens here. But this person says gamblers, all right? And then once again, with his habit of just using his camera to go anywhere without permission, you could really see that some of the faces of his subjects are not happy, And the thing about Philippine culture is we're just very hospitable. We'll just give you a smile even though we don't feel comfortable anymore when foreigners take a video of us in a public place. It says here many houses were built in a makeshift way on the banks of the river. Of course, he shows here dilapidated areas, very polluted garbage, and then shows the riverbank, and then part of Tondo here. He says there are no words to describe the poverty in this place. Okay? And is there really a best or a word to describe poverty, not just in the Philippines, but anywhere in the world? Because poverty is present in all of these places, not just in the Philippines. So that's his phrasing here in this situation. And then he says here that the whole road in this area is garbage. He mentions about once again he would feature people just doing their private activities. Like for this one, this is our garbage picker, and you could really feel that some of these people are not comfortable as they do about with their daily lives. Like for this person, for example, he would intentionally bow and not show his face by putting cap. But then again, the thing is, while they feel not comfortable, would they take the effort of telling this foreigner who does not speak Filipino to stop filming? So probably for them, because they are doing their work, they're on their duty for their jobs. There's no point really in telling the person or talking to a person to stop filming. In my opinion, they're just busy doing their job, and this vlogger is just taking his camera, zooming into what they're doing, zooming into almost part of their faces, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. And then this woman, of course, for example, actually in the part of, because this foreign vlogger is taking a bit of time here featuring this beautiful woman. The woman just smiled, gave a beautiful smile. But really, who wants to be documented, immortalized in the video while you're, not in the best possible situation of handling garbage? So I really felt insensitivity from this travel vlogger. And then when it's once again their private activity here of a girl singing, karaoke, and then also look at the face of the woman here at the store. So she is taking care of her child, and obviously she's not looking at the camera. But this man, this travel vlogger, just feels like shooting everything, without regard for the feeling of awkwardness and uncomfortable feeling from the subjects. This man is basically covered himself, his face while he is sleeping. And still, our great travel vlogger from Vietnam featured him sleeping, resting in his private time. Look at the narration of this travel vlogger here. Babies are very innocent. I don't know if they are aware of their living situation or not. Later on, we'll be talking about what is considered as the best interest of a child, as they are portrayed in media. What's the best interest for them, and what constitutes violation of their private spaces. So we'll be talking about that later on. But let's just finish this document by this travel vlogger. The drainage ditches, okay. This one is also interesting. Once again, this is private home, right? With no permission, I suppose, because he just brings his camera directly, actually, just even physically putting his camera at the doorstep inside the room. And you could actually, here in the actual video, you would see that the woman did not like it. Okay, there is a baby, the inside of the room, and then actually you will see in the next part, she actually disappeared. She stood up and made sure that she's not included in the video. This travel vlogger just brings his camera anywhere, and then it seems like everything is free to see, like in a zoo, like in a circus. It's just terrible and very insensitive for him to do that. Very, very disrespectful. In our country, you cannot just do that. I think any decent man would not do that, right? Like, would you want another person carrying a camera come into your house, to your door, to what you consider as a safe space or your living room, for example? We don't want that, right? But this guy just does it. I really wonder, this is my challenge for this vlogger. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this video, I'm challenging you to do this in the States. Go into the other person's house and try to film just instantly, spontaneously, without permission. Let's see how they would react. And I don't think they would be happy. But in our culture, at least, we try to consider you, foreigners, we try to respect you at least by not confronting you. So what the woman did in her own living room while she's washing, doing the laundry and watching her son, I suppose, she just goes out of the way because you're covering her with your camera. So it's just unthinkable if you think about it. It's really difficult to imagine the insensitivity of this person. Interestingly, another part of the video is the feature of this travel vlogger to a small house. So he says here, among the scavengers, there are many who pick up leftovers, reprocess them, and then sell or eat them. So infamously, this is pagpag, and of course, it's real. Everything here is real, right? No problem about that. I'm not questioning the authenticity of what's happening here. However, take note of the labels that she used, scavengers, okay? And once again, the child is shown here as she's saying this, okay? As he is saying this. So, pagpag, let's go visit this girl's house. And obviously, once again, this girl was surprised to find this foreigner shooting this video. And then, this is interesting, and this is what he said. So, this travel vlogger said, this is the pagpag that this girl sells. This is leftovers, not much meat left, only bones. So he's describing what pagpag is. He says, I will buy to support this girl. Wow, thank you so much, travel vlogger. And then he says, however, I will not eat this dish. And he's saying that in front of the girl. I just can't think of any words to describe that. You come to a squalid area, poor person's house. In order to get by, this person is selling terrible food. And then you have the gall to come into that house, say that you will support that person. Yeah, I will buy your food. I will buy the food that you worked hard for. But I will not eat it. What's the point? Why would you say that in front? Well, good thing he is speaking in Vietnamese, so the person, the girl may not know what he is saying, what is being said in front of her, but still. Next one here, there's this cute girl with her shirt. Okay, so the shirt says, "I love Vietnam." Okay, so what is his what did he say? I found a Vietnamese fan right in the slums. Really? A fan of your country? I highly doubt it, because chances are this girl does not know anything about Vietnam, and it's just so happened that that was the shirt that probably she bought at a store. Okay? And it's also possible that you dressed it up because there are clothes, here at the back. So it's possible too that you bought that for her. But the point is, you are saying something that is not obvious on what the girl is doing. And take note, once again, we need the permission of the parents when we talk about featuring children in our videos, especially in horrid situations like this one in the slums. Okay. And another part of the video here, he features on the pagpag, the recooked meal, which is really, really terrible. And then he says here, don't expect much from a restaurant in the slums. Okay. And then he says here, with the owner's permission, I toured her kitchen and house. So this is about the kind of small restaurant here. Okay. And then, but good job for you, by the way, man. You had permission from the owner. I hope you had permission from all of the kids' parents featured in your video that you so loved to feature. Because if not, that is a violation of our Privacy Act of 2012. And I'll tell you that later. The houses built on the edge of the river are very makeshift, and the living environment is unspeakable, of course. In general, it is difficult to find words to describe the living environment in this place. Sure, the poverty here is beyond our imagination. Wow! Of course. This is interesting. He assumes that the water pipes here Okay, he says in his voiceover, these are the water pipes. It seems that the water people use is taken directly from this polluted river. Who does that? Can you drink polluted water from the river? I don't think so. So that was his, once again, his assumption. He's making a story. He's making his own interpretation of the things based on what he sees. But the thing is, it's not very objective because we don't do that. At least here in this area. You cannot drink polluted water. So he says here that the water from that the people use is taken directly from this polluted water. That's not true. Okay? And now, I always think about this. What's the purpose of this travel vlogger's videos? So he says, when visiting this slum, mixed feeling. The first is the feeling of helplessness for the people here to live in such poor circumstances. Okay, helplessness. You cannot do anything about it, right? But I'm guessing, maybe because you live in a very rich country, I think because you travel to a lot of different places, and your channel makes a lot of money, I suppose. So I'm guessing that you have given some kind of compensation for the people here for your content, because without the people living in these slums as your subjects, you will not have a content. People will not watch it, right? So what happens to the earnings here? Does it go to them? Is it shared? Or does it go to you and you earn subscribers for your channel because of the shock value that you're putting into these videos? So the first thing, according to him, the feeling of helplessness for the people to live in such poor circumstances. Number two, he says, the feeling lucky, happy with your life right now. He's happy because, unlike them, he gets to travel around, the world. He gets to have full meals, right? So he is feeling happy with his life right now. So once again, he moves on. Of course, this is still the part 2 of the video, life of children in the slums, picking up trash. And then he describes the smell as terrible. He has nausea, he says, hard to smell, but this is the daily life of the people here. Talks about trash, and then he talks about the backdrop, which is the skyscrapers of the capital, Manila. He says, the trip is over. At first, I was a bit worried, but people treated me very normally, he says. Okay. He says earlier that the place is the most dangerous, and he wasn't victimized. He wasn't attacked. He says it's the highest crime rate in the country, he says earlier, but nothing happened to him. So what does that mean then? He says further, maybe because he's Asian, so there's nothing to worry about. Okay. So if you're saying that this is the worst place in the Philippines, Filipinos look Asian. And they are victimized, right? According to the stats of crime. So he says that's the reason why you were not victimized, vlogger? Because you're Asian? Or maybe, just maybe, people living here, despite their poor situation, despite their difficulty surviving, in a third world country like the Philippines, they have the respect and decency and the hospitality to welcome you as a foreigner. Think about that. Those were the screenshots. I gave you a rundown of what happened in his 2-part video. These 2 videos amount to close to 50 minutes, actually. These 2 videos that he created featuring the slums and the shocking, areas in the Philippines. So let's talk about some very big issues here that we should be tackling on poverty porn. A lot of content creators are taking advantage of the Philippines because there is poverty here. That's obvious. When you talk about poverty, issues with clothing, with food, with shelter, and we see that in the Philippines, and that's a reality, right? And we're not thin-skinned. We know these things, and I'm not reacting just because you said something bad about the Philippines, but in all honesty, all these things are real. These things that he featured here it's real. It's happening in the country. This is a developing country. What would you expect? But this is also happening anywhere else in the world, because poverty is not just in the Philippines, in other countries too. Now, the issue here that I have with this travel vlogger is, and the majority of the time in his videos, he makes it appear that there is a big gap, but he does not have an equal treatment of the rich life and then the poor life. He just says there is a divide. He makes it sound like it is logical, but majority of his footages, I would say 80%, even 85%, are just the poverty in Tondo, the poverty and, the roads full of stench, and he says it's everywhere in Manila. So he's using words like the most dangerous, risky. People advise me not to go here, but then again, nothing happened to him. So why not equally focus on the people themselves and how they treated you in our country? Why not focus on the smiles that we give, even though we have difficulty in the situation? Sure, this is a political issue, but did you provide any solution? Or at least, did you help compensate? Or at least give back to the community? The whole presentation was not in any way, it doesn't sound like it's a charity video. It's not. It doesn't give anything to anyone. Maybe at the back or behind the scenes, maybe. But in the video, you will never see it. So that's why I always question, what's the intention of putting out this video? So that is a question that I would like this video creator to answer. And a part of this person's video, he also talks about the most beautiful country in the world, okay? Or the beautiful city in the world. And according to him, okay, I'll show it to you. So it's his video, once again. It is a part of his home country, Vietnam. Okay, so in short, all the places that he's featuring, the problematic, the difficult situations of poor people, the poverty in the Philippines, the slums of Burundi, and the best place for him is Vietnam. The most beautiful is Vietnam. So talk about going to a country, just telling the quote-unquote his journey, telling his story of finding out the most difficult, the most terrible places, but he does not see it in his own country. Mind you, Vietnam also has a serious poverty issue. It's just recent that they have good economic performance, but there are still less than, I think, around 9 million living in poverty, below poverty line in Vietnam. So that's his storytelling style. And I could not really stop him from doing that, obviously, because no one regulates YouTube. But I hope that creators would be more wise and smart in treating poverty as a sensitive issue, in treating the misery of other people, and turning this into monetized videos. Because this guy is earning. You can see here his estimated earnings. In a day, he makes around $41 to $659 in a day. In 1 month, $1,200 in a month. This travel vlogger. So he's making money for sure. And it's just sad that he's making money out of the terrible situations and the violation of privacy of the subjects, including Filipinos that are poor in Manila. So in line with this, I actually sent an email to the embassy here in Vietnam to at least try to filter, those content creators that will be coming here to the country, and maybe just remind them of our privacy data law, where you cannot just openly shoot a person's video without his consent. And especially for children and for people who are doing their private activities. And I'll show it to you here. So this is from Defense Council Journal, okay, in the Philippines. And it says here, the right to privacy under Philippine law. In the Philippines, okay, there is a right called the right to be alone. And in the Philippine law, the concept of privacy is enshrined in the Constitution. And it is regarded as the right to be free from unwarranted exploitation of one's person, from intrusion into one's private activities. You cannot just come in and disturb another person's private activity in such a way as to cause humiliation to a person's ordinary sensibilities. An embarrassing situation, a humiliating situation, once you exploit that, that is considered as a violation of our privacy rights under the Philippine law. And the more grave thing, in my opinion, is Kim featuring children in his videos without blurring the faces, without putting any masks on the faces of the children. This is okay. Publishing them is okay. Photos, videos, when it empowers them, it affirms their worth as human beings with opinions that are worth hearing. However, when it's not, then you should not do that. If you want to feature children, there should be a free and informed consent, which is necessary. The use of their photographs without assistance from a parent or caregiver should not be done without their express permission from the parents or guardians. Free and informed permission for the publishing of any such material after the risks and benefits have been explained to them. One of the actions is blurring the images. And this is thinking for the best interest of the child. So the question is, featuring these children, these innocent children in your videos, is it for their best interest? You're even saying in a part of the video, do they know the terrible situation that they are at? I don't think that's looking for the best interest of the child. So, and many more. And you saw it, in the screenshots that I gave you. I tried my best to really put blur into their faces just to not expose them to the dangers of this world. So, well, that is all for today. And it's a long video, but I really have to say this just because a lot of poverty porn content creators, especially foreigners, are doing it. In the Philippines, the trend was charity videos where they would give something to the poor people. But this is worst, in my opinion. This video by this Vietnamese vlogger is terrible and much worse than that, just because it's not a charity video. He makes it appear that this is a spectacle, just like in a zoo, just like in a circus. People's terrible situation for everyone to see. That's why I would like to ask this vlogger, can you imagine yourself being the subject? What if you are in their situation? Would you be happy that someone is taking a video of you while you're homeless, while you don't have any shelter? What do you think? That ends my video for today. If you're creating a video about the Philippines, please be more mindful of our laws here. Please do not capitalize on the superiority that you feel when you're watching people's impoverished situations. You should show Filipinos in a dignified way, as it should be. Any person in a dignified way, as it should be. When you want to help out, do so without expectations. Please respect our culture, our law. Try to knock, say tao po when you're about to enter a person's home, and just bring your camera directly to their living rooms. Please do not sell our feelings, and please protect the rights of Filipino children. So if you're a viewer of that travel vlogger, please send him a message. Please discourage poverty porn creators. I know they make a lot of money, but it should stop. And one way of doing this is through this video. Let them know that this is not good. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I'm JR. Peace. Bye-bye.